Hey everyone, welcome back. I'm Michael, and we're going to be getting right back into some more Reddit stories. If you enjoy the video, make sure to leave a like and subscribe. Now, without further ado, let's begin. This story was posted by a deleted user in the relationship subreddit. The post is titled, "I have always had intense and toxic relationships. I finally have a healthy relationship with a great guy. I have no idea if what I'm feeling is normal. I have never had a healthy relationship. My first relationship was a codependent mess with insane highs and crashing lows. I deeply loved him and obsessed over him, even though in hindsight, he treated me terribly. Of course, it ended disastrously, taking me years to get over. I've tried dating other guys since then, but either they weren't interested and just used me for sex, or I'd realize I was just using them for validation, and nothing ever lasted. I eventually gave up on dating and up until recently had been happily single for about a year. A few weeks ago, I met someone in a university class, and we really hit it off. We were just friends initially, but eventually started dating. We're getting pretty intimate, and I genuinely enjoy being around him. However, I'm not really sure if I like him that much or if I'm forcing it. Because of my terrible dating history, I've realized that I actually have no idea what it feels like to be in a healthy relationship. The thing is, he's smart, funny, and super nice, and he genuinely likes me. He listens to me, cares about my interests, and remembers things I've told him. He doesn't play arbitrary relationship games. However, I don't feel like I like him as much as I should. I certainly do like him, and I love hanging out with him. The romantic and intimate aspects are pretty good, but compared to past relationships, as disastrous as they were, this one feels almost boring in comparison. I don't crave being with him, I don't get wild fireworks when he kisses me, and I don't feel my heart flutter when I get a text from him. I do feel a strong sense of affection that's almost a weird mix of close friendship, and this guy is a dork and I really like kissing him. For the first time ever, I almost prefer just hanging out in his kitchen and making dinner together to being intimate. So I've been wondering how much of that lack of intensity is due to him not being right for me, or if it's because he is right for me. Maybe I don't get fireworks when we kiss because he freely kisses me all the time without making me work for it. Maybe my heart doesn't flutter when he texts because I know he'll always text back without making me wait for hours on end. Maybe I don't constantly think about him and crave his presence because I know he'll be there when I need him. Maybe the intensity isn't there because I don't have to fight for his attention or walk on eggshells or agonize about him not being there for me. I know I feel a sense of warmth and contentment when I think about him, and when we're together, there's not really anywhere else I'd rather be. Maybe that's enough. I know it's early days, but he's already expressed a strong interest in me, and I feel like my feelings aren't quite matched to his. Should I be feeling more intensely about him, or is this just what being in a healthy relationship feels like? Edit, wow, this blew up. Thanks to everyone for all your advice and words of encouragement. It's helped a lot, and I really appreciate it. Update. A few months ago, I wrote about dating an actually stable guy after only having toxic relationships. The post got more traction than I expected, so I figured it might be nice to do an update. Thank you so much to everyone who replied to my post. All the replies really helped. As it turns out, the guy I was seeing found the post on Reddit, realized it was me, and talked to me about it. It turned out he actually felt the same way in terms of low intensity, but he liked that. I decided to keep dating him as long as we kept having fun together. Well, I'm happy to say that last week we celebrated being together for 6 months, and we are quite madly in love with each other. After we talked, I took the advice of some of the commenters and tried to just enjoy my time with him instead of worrying about the depth of my feelings. I soon realized that he's a kind, thoughtful, intelligent person, and we totally get each other. He makes me laugh with the most inane stuff, and he thinks my dumb jokes are funny too. We can talk for hours and hours about anything at all, and I rarely feel like I have to justify or explain my point of view. He just understands me. One of the first times I knew I was really falling in love was when we were chatting in bed, and suddenly it was 3 in the morning and I realized we'd been chatting for 3 hours without a single awkward pause. I've rarely had that with anyone else and never with a previous boyfriend. I think most of the commenters were right. My other longest relationships were all built around toxic intensity and wild passion. And while this relationship definitely isn't lacking in the bedroom, I'd say it's much more built on a sort of close friendship and respect respect for each other. It's certainly not as filled with longing and deep passion as other relationships I've had, but honestly, I prefer being with him. I feel like I have not just someone to go out with or to cuddle up to, but a genuine life partner. Someone who supports me, who I can talk to about anything, someone who makes me want to be a better person. It just took me a while to realize how much better that calmer, more peaceful love is instead of the roller coaster and intensely toxic relationships, and I almost made the mistake of thinking it was boring and throwing it away. I really just needed time to get used to dating someone who doesn't play games and displays his affection openly and frequently. We did have some slight issues with communication at the start, mainly me being afraid to bring up issues or suggest things because of other boyfriends overreacting terribly in the past. But after we talked a lot, he's been very supportive and proven himself to be a mature enough adult that he can handle occasional criticism without getting super defensive. It's been really refreshing to be in such a drama-free relationship where we can argue or talk about issues in a really healthy way. Thank you to everyone who replied. You all helped a lot, and I'm really glad I took your advice and didn't just break up with him. I love him a lot, and I can see us being together for a long time. Thanks. Glum Hamster said, I think she is on the right track when she says that maybe the intensity comes from not knowing when the other person will text back or be around. I think that in some cases, people confuse intensity with panic, anxiety, and fear. There are many things that cause butterflies in your stomach, make your heart skip a beat, and cause that longing feeling, and they aren't all positive. PC Nada said, maturity is learning and understanding that while the flames of a fire have a lot of energy and excitement, the coals are hotter and last longer. To put it another way, you get better results cooking over coals than over flames. Baltonerdis said the biggest problem she had was confusing adrenaline for dopamine and oxytocin. Of course, everything felt more wild and passionate. Your body was releasing fight or flight chemicals to put you on guard against an imminent threat. While that feels great on a roller coaster or while climbing a mountain, it isn't what you should have running through your veins on an ongoing basis because of your partner. I am glad she came to realize the difference and they're doing okay, or at least they were as of that writing. This next post was made in the same subreddit by a user named Mr. Schwanschel. The post is titled, Why Doesn't Anyone Want Me? Hi, I'm pretty new here and wanted to get this off my chest. Somehow, no one really wants to be with me. I'm a 16-year-old male and have never had a relationship or even close contact with another female person. And no, I'm not gay, I'm always very helpful and nice, and I don't look bad and take care of my appearance. Somehow, I even managed to make people laugh quite well, especially girls, without making jokes about myself. Almost all my friends make fun of me because I'm still a virgin. I'm only 16, but as I said, I haven't even had a relationship. I just don't know what to do. I don't have the necessary connections to use apps like Tinder, etc. And it's not like I'm compelled to ask questions, quite the opposite, because I don't have the courage and I know that she would reject me anyway. For example, our class went to an amusement park a few days ago. It was raining heavily and a girl who I think is quite nice was shivering badly. I offered her my jacket since I still had something on underneath. She was only wearing a very thin sweater. Despite this, she refused to take it. I don't know if she doesn't like me or if she thinks I'm disgusting, but I actually get on quite well with her. I've tried to ignore the couples around me and focus on school, but I just can't shake this constant feeling of loneliness. Update. I would have made a post on this subreddit about a year ago with a title similar to Why Doesn't Anyone Want Me? Admittedly, that title feels very embarrassing to me today because it looks like I've evolved. The content of the post was mainly self-humiliation, as at the time I was a 16-year-old who didn't have a girlfriend and was in a circle of friends who constantly put me down. But a lot has changed over time, so I'm here to share a little update. I've been dating a girl for 7 months whom I love with all my heart. Just as most members of the community advised me under the other post, it came about quite by accident. I'm 17 now, about to turn 18, and I think about her a lot. Every time I see her, it feels like the first time I see her, and I feel in love. I really think that the relationship will last longer because she is so incredibly caring, understanding, and cute. I always try to do my best, and she really appreciates that and loves me with all her heart, too. I'll be honest about the virginity thing. We're both still virgins, but over the last few months, the kissing and making out has become a lot more intense. Also, I'm not as focused on not being a virgin anymore. I just want to have a good time with her. I feel really fulfilled now that I've also changed my circle of friends, and I don't really have anything to drag me down. We often play D&D together and get on really well, even though I've only known everyone since the beginning of the school year. Finally, I want to thank everyone who gave me advice about a year ago. I realized that a 16-year-old who doesn't whine about not having a girlfriend isn't exactly special or rare. That's why I have to say a big thank you to everyone who has dealt with me despite this. Many thanks to you all. Ashi said, those old friends can go fuck themselves. I mean that in all senses of that term. Fjordgard said, since this is lighthearted and happy anyway, know that the username can have quite a few meanings. First, shell isn't a broad term for a hit, as OP indicated, but specifically refers to slapping someone in the face. However, it's ambiguous here whether the slapping is done with the male genitalia or on it. Second, shell is also a word for a small bell. Think something like a bike bell, a handbell, or more fitting here, a bell you would attach to a pet's collar. So technically, this may not be about any sort of slap or hit, but about personal decoration. Regardless, this 39-year-old woman here snickered a lot when reading the username. Glad that OP found some happiness too. Barry Trekking said, man, I'll be 35 in February and I'm still alone and a virgin. I wouldn't have even thought about this at 16. Poor kid, getting so much peer pressure from terrible friends. This final post was made in the AITA subreddit by a user named Rachel Burleigh. The post is titled, My dentist broke my night guard. I said they need to replace it for me free of charge. I have been waking up with jaw soreness and stiffness in the mornings for about a year. Since January, I believe this has gotten worse. I wear my custom night guard religiously every single night. I got this in 2019 for grinding and clenching. I take excellent care of it, cleaning it and letting it air dry during the day. On Monday, I visited the dentist to discuss possible solutions. Botox, a new night guard, anything. I just wanted to talk options. She said to do a bunch of jaw exercises, adjust my night guard, and come back in a few weeks to see how it's going. I agreed. Well, the dental assistant adjusted my night guard and ground it down to almost nothing. I said, wow, it's really thin now, and she replied, if there are any problems, we can just order a new one. I didn't think it was that bad. Maybe I would wear it down after a few weeks or months. The next morning, there were 2 holes in it. It's unusable. I can see how thin she made my night guard. I called the dentist the next morning and they said they'll cover 50% of the cost for a new night guard. I said that's unacceptable. It's because of them that my night guard is unusable now. The secretary I spoke to was very defensive about the whole thing and it really put me off. She said she'd talk to the dentist and get back to me. It is now Thursday evening. They haven't answered me yet and I called them around noon today. Am I the asshole? How I was raised. If I am responsible for breaking something that does not belong to me, I replace it. It doesn't matter if I was not the one who broke it. If I borrowed someone's tool and wore it down so much that it broke during the next use, I am responsible. I understand the night guard needed adjustment. The problem I have is, should the dental assistant really have ground it down so much? I am completely open to buying a new night guard, but I never said I wanted to get rid of my old one. Update. The dentist called me yesterday and said they would replace my night guard for me free of charge. Thank you to everyone who commented. For me, it was never about the cost of replacing it, it was the principle of the matter. I'm so glad I stood up for myself. Behold, Frostilicus said, medical costs shouldn't be so easily negotiable. I feel like the system is rigged against those who hesitate to push back, either due to social anxiety, language barriers, or other factors. Special Lychee said, I have a night guard because I grind my teeth in my sleep. The secondhand anxiety I got from reading this post is insane. If anything were to happen to my night guard, I think I would have to stay awake until I get a replacement. I have driven home from a sleepover at a friend's place an hour and a half away because I had forgotten it. Thank you so much for making it to the end of the video, and thank you also to partner of the channel, Gamersupps. Use code DLAM to support the channel and get 10% off of your purchase, link in the description. I'm sure many of you like me have a hankering for daily caffeine, so go check them out. Lately, I've been a big fan of Titty Milk and Acid Rain, but they've got dozens of other flavors for y'all to try out. Anyway, thanks again for reaching the end, and I hope you all have an amazing passage of the next 24 hours.